everyone, it's Karen, and I finally finished 11/22/63. I read the majority of it last night. I read like over 600 pages in a single day because I wanted to be done and because I loved it so much and just wanted to read it. So this book started off amazing for me, and I was just reading it very slowly but just soaking it up and enjoying it. It tells the story of a high school English teacher who also teaches like adult education in the evenings, and honestly I was just happy hearing about his teacher life and what kind of things he likes to do in the evening, mainly what books he likes to read, because book references in books are always good. And yeah, so one of the things that was really important in this story was his relationship with this guy from this diner next door. The owner of the diner was kind of a friend of his, more of an acquaintance, I would say. And our main character, the teacher, who changes names throughout the story, so I just call him the teacher, really supported this diner. He thought it was a really good value and the food was really good. And other people were bashing this diner all the time because it was so inexpensive that they would joke about where the meat came from and all this sort of stuff. But anyway, one day he is at work, I think it's in the afternoon, and the owner of this diner asks if he can like come over to the diner and talk to him. So the teacher goes to the diner, and basically this diner owner guy looks a hot mess. Like, he looks like he's about to die, and he's coughing up blood and just like what the heck? The teacher saw him like the other day and he was completely fine. So this is weird. Anyway, he kind of gets all weird and tells him that he needs to tell him something before he dies, and he brings him to the pantry of the diner and tells him to go to, well, first of all, he like takes his money and his cell phone and like all this stuff, and he's like, I promise I'll give it back, whatever. He hands him some weird money, and then he tells him to like go to the back and shuffle his feet, and there'll be a staircase. So he goes to the back of the pantry and he kind of shuffles his feet, and he can't see a staircase, but he can definitely feel it with his feet. And what happens is at the bottom of the staircase, he actually goes to the year 1958. And by the way, this book was written in 2011, and I think it takes place around that time for like the initial time period. But yes, going through the pantry of this diner will bring you to 1958. And it was so fun just hearing about him going back in time and how different things were in 1958. I know that's the year that my mom was born, and so I understand that it's different than now, but it still doesn't really seem that far away, and yet things seemed so different. And one of my main things that I enjoyed hearing him talk about was the food back then and just how fresh it was and like how good it tastes, and there's no like, you know, artificial anything. But anyway, so basically he learns that when you go back in time, you have the same conversations with the same people all the time. And yeah, so he like goes to the store, and like the conversation that he has with the guy is going to be the same the next time he comes back and all this stuff. So he just kind of explores this town in 1958. I can't remember the exact date, but it's like a certain date in 1958 that you always go back to. And then he goes back to the diner to chat with the guy. And basically the diner owner tells him that he wants him to go back in time to save JFK from being assassinated. And so that's where the rest of the book takes us. There are a bunch of other minor things too that the teacher tries to go back and change, and I just found it so entertaining, just hearing about what things were like in the past and his experiences of going back in the past. He honestly made very few mistakes in referencing things that didn't happen yet or that didn't exist yet, and I think that would be the hardest part, honestly, because there are so many things that were just simple. Like, they were talking about calculators. My mom said she never remembers a time without calculators, but they were like, yeah, pocket calculators did not exist or whatever. So I really, really, really liked this book just for the entertaining aspect of it. But the other thing that I really liked was just all the questions that Stephen King brings to our attention, just like he always seems to in the other books I've read of his, just on like time and like why bad things happen to good people. And I don't know, just like, okay, bad things happen to good people, but in my life anyway, there always seems to be a very positive result, even if I hate everything at the time I'm going through the struggle. And so he kind of addresses that, and like the impacts of going back and changing something, like how does that impact the future? And I just love this book. I'm definitely going to be buying it now that I've already read it, which I am allowing myself to do. If I have read a book, I can buy it, but I cannot buy a book that I have not read, although I have made a few mistakes, mainly 3 recently. Okay, but I would definitely recommend you read this book, even if you're not a huge Stephen King fan. I liked the kind of, I guess you would call it magical realism, but like time travel to me doesn't really seem magical, but yeah, I definitely really liked this, and it was not like when you think of Stephen King, you don't realize maybe that he writes in so many different genres, and this is not like a horror book, but I adored it. So I'm curious if you guys have read it and what other Stephen King books I should read that are not necessarily horror, but are just like really thought-provoking like this one was. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.